Good afternoon from the farmer's garden. I'm one of the farmers and I'm out in the goat pen today. Today I just finished a completely different project, not garden related at all. We don't talk about the goats much on the page since they're mostly just pets, but I just built a new electric fence for them, which I'm about to plug back in and get going again. Goats are escape artists. I had goats in high school and our family motto was, if the fence won't hold water, it won't hold goats. They just can get out of everything. And so we've had a lot of trouble with our goats lately. Shout out to our amazing neighbor, Miss Fanny, who is always having to put our goats up. Uh, she'll call and she's like, your goats are out. I'm so sorry. Would you just open the gate? And she'll just put them back in the yard for us. So I've been working on the fence and hopefully I've got it up and running again. And I just want to kind of show you what's out here. Oh, so I just walked away from the charger. I was going to show you that. This charger is pretty simple. I think our charger is for 7 miles of fencing. I believe that's right. So you're going to get smaller or larger. Like chickens, you're going to want a small voltage, and cattle, you would want a higher voltage. Cattle actually train to electric fence easier than goats. Cows, you can keep them behind one line, and they do just fine. Goats don't work that way. So I'm going to kind of show you around, show you what we've got. I was working without tools in a few places. I didn't want to go to town and get more supplies in the middle of the project. So there's a few places that I'm going to have to just kind of watch and see what happens. And we may have to do some more repairs on them. But if I can get past our knothead buck here, I'll go show you what we've got going on. This is Nubbins. He's the reason we have goats in the first place. Nubbins showed up as a stray, and then we got him some girlfriends to keep him company. And he's the reason that I need a goat fence. So there's not a good way for me to show you all of this because part of it comes through the chicken pen and I don't want to be in and out. This line up here coming from the top, it goes over and across. Nubbins, quit. And it goes down to the charger that's plugged in over there. And then it comes down here and it is tied in right there. So that line right there is what is going to feed the whole fence. So I mentioned I was working without tools. I would much prefer to be making this with all T-post and these really nice T-post insulators, but that's not what I had today. So we did the step-in post, which most of our fence has been made with step-in post for a couple months now, and it's been fine. So that's not a big concern. This fence has been here, but because I was rearranging it, I pulled this whole line completely down and started over. You want to try to avoid too many knots in it, too many places where you've cut it and tied it back together, because each of those knots creates a place for it to short out. Okay, so this fence used to go, and then it turned and ran back to that corner over there. They finished all the brush in here, so we moved it recently to go just past that tree over there. They finished all of that really quickly. So this line here is just a single line that's high enough for the goats to walk under it. I still have to work on it some over this way. This fence on this side, that's a fairly major FM road on that side, and the fence is weak enough that the goats keep pushing out. So we just ran a line, just one single line, to keep them from getting too close to that one and too close to the chain link that you can't see very well, but that's along the front. Okay, so ducking under this line, all the way under, because it is turned on right now. All right, so I turned the fence this way and brought it up and around the greenhouse. Still using those step-in posts. Those work really well for temporary fencing, but like I say, I would prefer T-post just because they're stouter. But you work with what you have, right? All right, so on this T-post over here, because I needed it to be a corner, you normally don't just use a single post as a corner. Normally you would have like a whole H-brace, but this is what I had. So I have used these donut insulators backwards. Okay, so normally this wire that ties it to the post would be going through the center, and the insulator would be turned so that the hole goes like this. So there's wire through the center and the hole goes up and down, and then you would wrap your poly tape electric wire around that. But I needed to hold them and make sure that they stayed out away from the T-post to make this corner. I'm really hoping he gets into this just once so that I can make sure that it's hot enough to turn him. So I'm kind of watching the goat. I know that's a little bit mean, but I want to make sure that it's hot enough. All right, so this post, I was out of the donut insulators and I had used T-post insulators. So this is one that I'll have to be watching. Nubbins, don't rub on me and shove me into this fence. I don't want to. So right there you can see where it's just against that plastic. We may need to add some electric tape under that just to make sure it doesn't get against that post. Because if the poly tape, the wire, hits that T-post, it'll ground out the whole fence. It won't have enough charge to electrify that post, and it'll just make the whole fence essentially dead. It won't have enough power to shock them. All right. Then I came this way, and off of this end, and again, I didn't have enough donuts, and I ran out of nails, so I've got to get that insulator down there and get it nailed up here to get that one pulled a little bit tighter. I did the same thing that I did along the fence over there, and I ran this hot wire all the way up and around the corner and over this way. This fence on this end is decent, but again, I didn't want them shoving on it because I didn't want them to push through it like they're doing over there by the highway. All right, long walk over here. This actually almost doubles the space that they had, and it gives them some cedar and pine trees, which they love. So I think this will work out good. Okay, I said if the fence won't hold water, it won't hold goats. This one won't hold me. I can step over that piece right there. So what I did in this spot is to come out from this T-post, and I ran out of wire. I need to do one more top line on it. But from this T-post, I came around all of this bad part, around the tree, and around over to another step-in post. That is, it's wired to that other post just to keep it kind of more secure. But that should keep them in. So not a very exciting garden day, but a little bit of information if you need to build an electric fence. It's really not that hard to do, as long as you have the right tools and equipment. The main thing is making sure, I have so much hair blowing in my face, making sure that you don't tie too many knots in it. Each of those knots is a place for it to kind of short out and get weak again. So that's why I took down the whole first fence and redid it to make sure that I was using as long a straight line as I possibly could. I think all of this fence, from what goes around the road out there all the way around up here, and this piece that goes along the back, I think it's 4 rolls, so like 400 feet of wire. Or no, they were longer than 100 feet. I don't remember. Anyways, it's only 4 rolls of wire and the step-in post. So a few $100s, and this should keep them in for a while until we can get a real fence built, if we ever get around to that. Gosh, finding the time for that has been hard. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed your visit to the farm to build a fence. Be sure and tell your friends about us, and y'all come back when you can stay longer.